بسم الله الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من يوم يصبح العباد فيه إلا ملكان ينزلان فيقول أحدهما اللهم أعط منفقا خلفا فيقول اللهم أعط ممسكا تلفا. متفق عليه. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله عليه وسلم ما من يوم يصبح العباد فيه إلا ملكان ينزلان يقول أحدهما اللهم أعط منفقا فيقول الآخر اللهم أعط ممسكا تلفا. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, two angels come down every morning. One prays, O Allah, grant a return to him who spends, while the other prays, O Allah, destroy the wealth of him who withholds it. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, two angels come down every morning. One prays, O Allah, grant a return to him who spends, while the other prays, O Allah, destroy the wealth of him who withholds it. Note, this hadith is corroborated by the ayah given at serial 20 above, which says, and whatever you spend for good, he replaces it. We have also quoted many other bearing on this subject. In that context, Abu Darda radiallahu anhu has quoted Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam as saying, at sunrise, two angels, one on each side of the sun, make a proclamation, which is heard by everybody except jinns and mankind, calling, O people, turn to your Lord. The little which suffices for you is better than the abundance which may make you neglectful towards Allah. Ji. Means that you forget ignore. Okay. Sorry. The hadith says, when the sun rises, okay. So at sunrise, two angels, one on each side of the sun, makes a proclamation which is heard by everybody except jinns and mankind, calling, O people, turn to your Lord. The little which suffices for you is better than the abundance which may make you neglectful towards Allah. Similarly, the hadith continues, at the time of sunset, two angels pray loudly from both sides of the sun, saying, O Allah, grant an early return to him who spends, meaning for a good cause, and ruin the wealth of him who hoards it. A hadith says, when the sun rises, two angels, one on each side of the sun, pray to Allah, calling, O Allah, grant an early return to him who is, O Allah, ruin the property of him who withholds it. Another hadith says that there are two angels in the heavens above in the heavens above, who have no other function but to keep. One says, O Allah, grant a return to him who spends a good cause. The other says, O Allah, destroy the property of him who holds it back. It appears that the mornings and evenings are not the special hours appointed for the angels to make such invocations. They go on making these supplications all the time. The version quoted earlier means that they are particularly engaged in such supplications in the mornings, and though they never cease to do so. Known experience of life confirm the truth of these ahadith. Very often those who amass wealth fall a prey to calamities that ruin their property. Some get involved in litigation, others enter upon a life of wasteful expenses, still the thieves chasing them. Hafiz ibn Hajar says, when the property is hoarded, it brings ruin in its wake. Very often the property is ruined. Sometimes the owner himself passes away, leaving behind everything or he is ruined through leading a vicious life. On the contrary, those who spend for a good cause are blessed with increase in their property. According to a hadith, whoever gives as sadaqah, so according to a hadith, whoever gives much as sadaqah, Allah Himself looks after his property after his death. That is to say, the heirs of such persons do not waste away the property they have left behind, and do not indulge in useless pursuits, unlike the sons of the rich feudal lords who squander away the wealth inherited from their parents. Imam Nawawi rahmatullahi alayhi writes, only that expenditure is commendable which is incurred for a good, that is spending to provide for one's family, for entertaining one's guests, or for other devotional deeds. Qurtubi rahmatullahi alayhi says, devotional deeds include both obligatory and nafil devotions. However, he who does not give away nafil sadaqah is not affected by the curse of the angels, unless he is overpowered by an innate miserliness which causes him to pay fard sadaqat with a heavy heart. So much Khadija is understood very well. MashaAllah. عن أبي أمامة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يا ابن آدم أن تبذل الفضل خير لك وأن تمسكه شر لك ولا تلام على كفاف وابدأ بمن تعول رواه Muslim. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam has said, O son of Adam, it is better for you to give away what you can spare, and to withhold it is worse for you. But you will not be blamed if you keep back what may barely suffice you, and spend first on those who are dependent on you. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam has said, O son of Adam, it is better for you to give away what you can spare, and to withhold it is worse for you. But you will not be blamed if you keep back what may barely suffice you, and spend first on those who are dependent on you. Note, the subject has been corroborated by the ayat in number 4 above, where Allah Ta'ala Himself has said, whatever is over and above your needs, spend it. That hadith was also mentioned in that place. Here it is repeated for the sake of emphasis and clarification. The truth is that anything in its proper needs is not to be held back at all. The best use for it is to have it deposited in Allah's treasury. The best use for it is to have it deposited in Allah's treasury, which never suffers a loss, nor is subject to any mishap. It will be readily available at the time of extreme adversity and pressing needs unknown in. So the money in that treasury will be readily available at the time of extreme adversity and pressing needs, which we have no scope of in this life. And there will be no source of income at that time, except the wealth spent as sadaqah, available as deposits in the storehouse of Allah. Another fact mentioned in this hadith is that there will be no blame for keeping things that are needed urgently. These cover the bare necessities without which life becomes difficult, such as need of one's family or some dependent people, or even the animals which are owned by persons in whose care is his responsibility. Any harm to those due to lack of provisions will be a sin and a cause of divine punishment. In the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it is said that it will be enough to get one condemned if livelihood is one's responsibility, perishes or dies. Abdullah ibn Samit rahmatullah alayhi says that he was with Abu Dharr radiyallahu anhu when he received his share from Baytul Mal and purchased rents from the bazaar, after which he was left with 7 dinars, 7 gold coins, and he instructed his slave girl to get them changed into small coins for distribution. The narrator advised Abu Dharr radiyallahu anhu to keep the gold coins for such as entertainment of guests. This also brings an important point. وَابْدَأْ بِمَنْ يَعُولُ, for those who are dependent on you. So, those who are dependent upon you is virtuous, and that is the best place to start spending. So, for what do we spend? Do we spend on, I am responsible for my kids, and now I have, a couple of $1 million. So I say I'm responsible for my kids, so I take care of their food and their clothing, and then my son who wants to get his new Bugatti, give me a Bugatti Chiron. Is that how I should spend? No. Of course, you spend on them what are their necessities, and then past their necessities, and you see who else is also in need. But when it comes to a question of necessities, then you start with those who are immediately dependent upon you, your family, your children, so on, and then other people who might not be exactly in that chain, but who are closer to you. For example, if I am wealthy and my parents are in need of something, then I should spend on them. If my brother or sister is in need and I am wealthy, then I should take care of their needs, and so on. And then once we've taken care of the needs, then we take care of look at who else is around and whose needs are pressing, who doesn't have food, even if they're not immediately dependent upon us. You see someone in the community hasn't, is not doing too well. Spend on them. See who is in need. Now, once all that has been dealt with, then there's scope to see what else you want to spend locally, you want to spend, you want to spend overseas, whatever the case is. But this hadith particularly was mentioning about the order in which we should be spending. So inshallah, Allah give us tawfiq to use our wealth properly and to follow this which Deen has set in place for us. And this is what Deen is. It gives us a bunch of priorities on how we should be leading our life, so that we can lead in a way which is pleasing. May Allah make us from amongst those people who use this wealth properly and who make it most profitable by spending as much of it in minimum in this world, but sending the most for the akhirah, down where it will really bring great rewards and great profits. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanaka wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun.